prison system sometimes is ran in ways that's profitable for the system versus the prison that's in it. So I ended up going to prison when I was 22 for 6 years. And so then while I was in that, I just decided, I'm done with that. Like, I just got to make better decisions. I mean, I was young, dumb, been there, done that, good, we got it out the way. And so I got out and I said, hey, I just want to make a difference. And then there was some difficulty, and you run up against some stuff. And I'm not the typical guy coming out of prison. Like, my story isn't atypical. It's kind of the exception to the rule. A lot of people that come out, they don't have the support I had when I came out. And they not even, I was 28 when I came out. A lot of guys, I'm meeting guys 50 something when they come out. And if you want to know what's worse than racism in employment is ageism. If you try to apply for a job and you're 55, it's rough. It's rough.
We spend more in North Carolina on corrections than we do on schools. Right? So what's our priority? So I think if it's going to funnel in as far as UNCA is concerned, it funnels into the thing about service to the community. We are trying to create at least a handful of people who are not going to bounce back into the prison again and save some lives and save some money.
In the United States, it is just inarguable that our entire lives are just saturated with the prison system, whether we're aware of it or not. Because the system is just so massive, and the policing apparatus is so massive, and the surveillance is so massive. For people who think that they're not impacted, they actually are.
We setting up our communities for failure from the front door to the back. With the prison population rising the way it has. And somebody said, well, why is that? When the population grows, prison population grows, but the prison population is growing at a much more rapid rate than just the regular population. And that's because over time, what we do is whenever something happens, that's typically when laws are enacted, right? Like, we don't pass a law or ordinance or whatnot till something happens, then that's our response. And so they make more things criminal and punishable by incarceration. So I think we really have to look at decriminalizing some things. I mean, I literally have helped people who have been to prison for driving while license revoked. I don't think you should drive while your license revoked. I don't think you should go to prison, even if you did it 15 times. We got to figure something out.
Well, I mean, the obvious question is we have to remove some of those barriers, right? And this is about politicians. Politicians really love to act tough, and so we're going to create this law that doesn't. The list of jobs that people can't do because they've got a felony is like ridiculous. You can't be a massage therapist because you've got a felony. Why? What are you going to do? So some of those sorts of things have to change, I think. We have to get to a point where we have an attitude about prison and corrections that is punitive rather than about reform. So we want to punish people. And it used to be that you could serve your time, and people say, yeah, you served your time, so now you can come back. Now we say, you've served your time and now we're going to punish you for the rest of your life. I sat in class and had people tell me how much money they were making before they got busted. They were like, yeah, I was doing like $10,000 a week. It's like, okay, so now you're out. You're struggling to get a job. Maybe you get a job at the Hardee's for $7.25 an hour. How long are you going to do that before it's sort of like, I'll just do this for just a little bit, just in order to get us off the ground. And then you get busted and you're back.
We look at people, we see the situation they're in, or we see their condition, but we don't know what led up to them being there. We don't know what kind of resources they had. We don't know if they had any support. It's also evidence which would tell you that the prison system is full of people who was in DSS custody and foster care. If you never had to go through that, how can you identify with somebody who did? So I just think it's really unfair for society as a whole to have this whole bootstrap. Pick yourself, because I tell them all the time, I would if I had some boots. You want me to pull myself up by my bootstraps, but you won't even provide me boots. So that's kind of the difference.
Definitely, educational attainment is a better indicator than anything else of reducing recidivism rates. So that is a true thing. However, I think it's important to not kind of glorify the state's role in providing education or access to education in prisons, because when you meet an adult who can't read, you know that person has been failed utterly by society. And perhaps we could enlarge that to that community has been failed utterly by society. It's kind of like a knee-jerk reaction of oh, but they're getting the services they need in prison. It's that is crazy. You're not supposed to have to go to prison to get health care or housing or education. That's completely insane. We can't play into that discourse. So, yes, it's important, but people should be having access to education before they go to prison.
Yeah.
And having access to education, importantly, does not prevent you from going to prison, because people are not going to prison because they're poor, because they're undereducated. They're going to prison because they're being criminalized, right? They're being hunted. So just because there's a correlation between demographics and who's in prison doesn't mean that those are the reasons people are going to prison. We feel that the reason people are going to prison is because the state is a malevolent entity that is criminalizing people. So